And there is this moment where I just pulled it all back into me. And it felt like everything in life then was falling apart. I was at war with my body. My relationship was failing. My business wasn't doing what I wanted it to. Everything looked fine and nothing felt fine. And in that moment, when I turned inward, when I reflect back on that now, I can see the process I was guided through. And it's something that I call the Trinity of self, because the way in which we awaken is actually by journeying back home to the truth of who we are. And that means that we stop abandoning and betraying and shaming ourselves. And there's no judgment. It's not our fault. We're doing exactly what our lineage programmed us to do, which was to show up, to survive, to succeed, to keep going. But we're at this moment of choice.
I was saying that you're one of those women that I just felt like I knew the second I saw you. And that doesn't happen very often. I feel the reason why I knew you is because we've lived similar stories in certain ways when it comes to reaching the depths of ourselves. And not always in the fun way. I'm really excited to go there with you today into the depths of your story and our story and what you're doing for other women on their paths and their stories. So welcome to the podcast, Sadia.
Thank you. Thank you. I called you in.
Yeah, you told me that.
I definitely did. I can remember the moment. And I was like, you know what, universe? I have had so many exceptional mentors, but I need someone who really gets it. I need someone who understands everything that my soul is trying to say right now. Because up until the point that I was with you, no one other than myself had ever witnessed the extent of my soul in this lifetime.
Wow. I received that. Thank you. It was instantaneous watching, when you stepped into FFBS and you stepped into my world, I was like, oh, I see her. I've been her. We speak the same language. But what has been the most amazing thing about witnessing you is the shedding and the transformation and the homecoming that you have had into your light and what you're doing now. And so I want to go back before we come forward.
Yeah.
And can you share, because you stepped into my reality in a dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest with you, it's so funny. Sometimes things don't need words, right? Because I was like, oh, I've been in that rageful, dark, like totally burnt out, exhausted. I can't even lift my finger, let alone my credit card, let alone my time to invest in something like this. But you did anyway, and we'll talk about that. But like, can you kind of take me back to Sadia pre-FFBS?
Mm-hmm. So when I called you in, it was November 2024. And I had hit a point of burnout that was so deep, like I didn't even know if I could feel my own pulse. And it wasn't the kind of burnout that flashes itself all over the news on the front pages, right? Everything seemed fine. My life looks fine. I ticked all the boxes. I did all the things. I have all the things. But there was something inside me that was just screaming. And she was like, Sadia, you have to stop. And for the first time, I just didn't have it in me to keep fighting. And I was trying to figure out what it was that I was even fighting. And I realized that I had spent all these decades fighting myself, my truth. The greatest resistance of my life and the reason I was so burnt out is that I had spent all this time resisting who I really am in order to be everything that I believed that I had to be in order to do all the things and have all the things and be all the things to everybody else except for me. And I was suffocating is the best word I can use. I was suffocating inside myself. And I had already stepped out of my 25-year career in the nonprofit and philanthropic sector. I had launched a business. There was no reason why the business shouldn't be successful, except that it wasn't the right business, as I later found out. But at that point, there wasn't anything left. And I couldn't spend another day trying to hustle and perform in all the ways that I had perfected, like an art, like you give me a PhD and what that looks like. I just couldn't anymore. Mm-hmm. And I surrendered.
You surrendered into my world.
I did. I collapsed into your world.
You kind of did. You kind of did. We were there to catch you.
But I remember my conversation with Alexa, and I remember, more importantly, that voice message I got from you. And you hadn't talked to me. You didn't know anything about me. But I heard your words, and I heard you just say, if you come in here, I think that it can heal you.
I remember saying that.
And I remember you saying, you can choose to come in and boil the ocean if you want to, or you can choose to just come in and be. And either way, I know you'll get everything that you need.
Wow.
And that was it. I mean, I'd already said yes before the voice note.
Yeah.
But the voice note gave me permission to say yes, not to the version of me I had been that whole time.
Yeah.
But to the version of me that was asking if I was ready to finally just allow it.
And thank you for allowing that. You know, I believe, I say this all the time, we attract what we are. We attract what we are. You know, there's this journey that I've been on to trust my own message, right? And my own magnetism, but like it's quantum science as much as it is marketing psychology. But I'm amazed at when I look around this community and I look into your eyes and how the frequency match is there. And that's really what I think creates the safety to be held, because we're actually all the same. Like we have an iridescent thread that connects us all. And I'm part of that sisterhood. And I feel there's so much I want to unravel with everything you just talked about, because one thing I'll say boldly about this community is like, we're the most awake women on the planet. Like, right? Yep. Like badass, professional, many women coming in burnt out from the 3D patriarchal matrix programming of the hustle, killed it in that world and was like, is this it?
Right. Why don't I feel great?
Why
doesn't this feel better?
I work so hard for this. Mm-hmm. And you speak about truth, Sadia. Like the thing that was missing, the thing that wasn't clicking and wasn't aligned was not something that you were doing or a role you were playing or any external factor. It was the internal truth that you were not honoring and operating from. What is that truth? Can you share more about that truth in you? What do you mean when you say that?
So ever since I was little, I always had this really strong feeling that I was here for a reason. Didn't know what the reason was. And I know a lot of people feel that way. And I can remember though, thinking all the time when I was growing up, I was like, there's something I'm going to do and it's going to create a legacy. And I'm not even sure I knew what that word meant. But to me, it meant the people that you remember long after they're gone, because they did something that changed not just for themselves, but for so many other people. And a good legacy, that the world is a better place because of it. And I spent 25 years in a sector and doing work that I now realize was just a way for me to try to heal my own pain. Like I chased the trauma. What's the most noble thing I could do? What's the best thing I could do? What's the worst context I could go in? What's the underbelly of humanity and how can we fix it? And I chased it and I chased it and I chased it. And it didn't satisfy whatever it was that was still dancing around inside me. And I contained her for a long time because from a very young age, I heard that I was too much, too opinionated, too smart, too bold, too bright. I can remember being in interviews at really senior levels and getting passed up because they said, you're too bright. You'll take the light away from other people. I will never forget that.
Where did they say this?
in an interview, in a job interview.
Jesus Christ.
I was probably 10, almost 15 years into my career. I was overqualified for the position for sure. And I could have turned it around. Like they were in a state of disarray and I could have turned them around. And I remember this gentleman sitting across from me in the interview saying to me, you could take this to the next level, but you are the type of energy and personality that when you walk into a room, all eyes and ears are on you. And we need someone who's going to meld in so that the team can shine too.
And how did you take that?
I mean, it crushed whatever was dancing in me. She shrank a lot smaller that day.
When internally it should have actually been the biggest fucking compliment, actually. I mean,
and now I know that.
Right, you weren't there yet. But wow, so you carried that.
So this is just one example of what it looked like what the cost of success really was. The cost of getting the accolades, being in the positions, starting organizations, running organizations, all of it. But it came at the cost. The cost was, Sadia, you have to stay within certain lines. And I was always skidding the edges of those lines. I was the disruptor. I was the trouble. I remember someone else not wanting to hire me because I said, I'm known as a disruptor. Like I come in and I will change things and they will be different, but they will be better. And that freaked them out.
Right, of course.
We don't want the disruptor. We want the yes girl. And I had a really hard time just being a yes girl.
Well, you've said yes to yourself now.
Yes. yes, I have. The best yes I ever said.
I mean, your business is called Living Her Light. Living Her Light.
And actually, I did something that I think you'll be really proud of because I realized over the winter, as I was shedding with the snake, right? I realized that even living her light, yes, living her light is the entire essence of what it is that I understand I'm here to do. But I realized that even with living her light, I was hiding behind names and logos. And so living her light exists as a community, but everything is now consolidated. And it's Sadia Hameed.
Fuck yes. That's what I'm saying. Let's stand in our authentic DNA blueprint of who we came here to be. Because that is legacy.
So now I'm like, it's sadiahameed.com.
Fuck yeah.
It's me.
We talked about this. We did talk about, you are here. You have arrived. You have so arrived. And so during FFBS, I teach like strategy and business, marketing, sales and branding and all of the beautiful things that make a business. But it's really, I think, an activation. It's a transformational school disguised as a business school.
Yes.
You're nodding because you'd agree. And you quantum leaped in front of my eyes.
I fought though
you
for
did.
a little while.
For the first half.
I'm sure you saw that because I was still clinging to what in my mind made perfect sense. And then I remember having this moment. I think it was at the fireside chat. And you said to me something along the lines of, do you even hear the way you speak? You are a priestess, and are you willing to finally just accept who you are?
I do remember that.
And in that moment, there were no words I could find where I could actually deny what you had said. And in that moment, I realized that it was the first time in my life I had ever felt safe enough to allow someone to see me. And once I was seen, I couldn't unsee it. And I didn't want to anymore.
That's where it's at. Thank you for sharing that. I saw you so clearly. I see you so clearly. There's a lot of things. We all have gifts. All of us have gifts, and all of us are not gifted at everything. It's typically a couple really important, finite aspects of ourselves. And I believe that one of my greatest gifts is to be a mirror. Like I have prophecy. Like I see things that are true, that are present, future, and past. And I'm able to articulate them into words that just bring them into form that then someone else can connect to and download into their consciousness. And then it becomes reality. And that day, I remember that fireside chat because I had been seeing you this whole time. And I just held up that mirror. I remember those words and I just reflected what I saw. It's simple as that. but you took action. You chose to believe it. And from that place, you have stepped out of the spiritual closet. And this is what I'm saying about the women in this space. It's you're all so fucking coded and you all have such badassery in business, but you're here for such a bigger reason. And that reason you've claimed as your work now. So can we talk about Ascension of Light? And can we talk about what you're doing with your beautiful business and how it's going? I want to hear it all. And I want you to share it because I know the women listening are going to be so compelled by what you offer because it's really unlike anything that exists.
Thank you. We always wonder what our superpower is, right? When I was younger, I believed that surviving adversity and thriving through adversity was my superpower. I was very good at it and I stayed very good at it until I hit that burnout that felt too close to the edge. And I'm a mom of 2 young kids and I realized there's no plan B here. There's only plan A. I am plan A. There's no plan B. And so if I kept flirting this close to this edge of burnout, at some point I was actually going to burn it all down. And I understood when I looked across my life, and many women probably feel this way, that I had built so much to be proud of, but I had built it all through pain and suffering and overcoming. And I had this moment where I was like, if I can do all of that from pain and suffering, can you imagine what is possible when you start tapping into the frequency of love and joy? And the yes and the yes I can, and the how good does this get to be? And the, you know what, I'm going to go find out. And that opened up something in me that I had never experienced before. And it was like a magic carpet ride through the cosmos because the things that downloaded, it was so fast and it opened up so fast. And I started to realize that one of the reasons why I'm here is because as women, we do carry lineages of suffering. And it's coded into our body, into our physical cellular memory. And we're not just carrying a burden that is ours. We're carrying a burden that goes back generations and lifetimes, which is why sometimes when you're a woman and you're at this point of feeling suffocated or burnt out or fed up, it feels so much bigger than your reality is reflecting back to you. And that's because it is so much bigger. It's centuries bigger, but we don't know. And it makes sense because in order for us to even be sitting here right now, our ancestors had to survive.
Amen.
And for many of them to survive, they had to self-abandon.
So much trauma.
And shrink and self-betray and please. And they did that so we could be here. But now we're at a moment of absolute sovereign choice. And that choice is, if I am so aware of this, I have 2 choices, but really there's only one. I can continue. I can look at my 10-year-old daughter and I can say, I will pass on to her everything that I carry in me. Just there's no way I'm doing that.
Right.
It's not happening. I will burn it all down before that happens. Or I can make a different choice and I can recognize that I'm here at this moment, at this time of awakening, with the people I'm surrounded by right now, because I, like so many of us, are the ones who will make the choice to be the last women in our lineage to ever carry the memory of suffering in our body, period. It ends here and it's done. And you choose and you give yourself permission to rewrite the feminine experience entirely. And so we will.
And so we will. I'm crying. That was a channeling. That was, I don't know if, at least that's what I felt over here. That's a full on download of codes and beautiful, beautiful thought leadership and mastery in the way in which you understand the root of what's really happening here in consciousness, especially with women. And I really hearken back to the comment you made, because I think you read my book I think that's how you came into the world of all of this. And, you know, in the light work, I write about family, and I talk about the circuit breaking, you know, DNA being carbon copy reprinted, dating back. I mean, not just 10 generations, like hundreds. I mean, humanity has been on this planet for hundreds of thousands of years. And the only way we actually can look around this 8 billion person planet today with all of this commerce and development, we had to survive to get here. And our ancestors and their ancestors and their ancestors certainly didn't have agency and the tools of healing and an awareness. They were just trying to not die. And that has been passed down to our very own mothers and fathers.
And we then believe that we're so small as a result of it.
Right.
But when you start connecting back into the truth of who you are, and each of us has our own unique code that we came here with, there's no one else on this planet like us. Mm-hmm. So there's no need to compete or compare, because there just isn't. There's not another Jessica Zweig. There's not another Sadia Hameed. There's not.
Retweet that. Absolutely.
And that there's so much freedom in that, because then there's the actual freedom to say, I have to be the fullest version of me because there isn't another one. And you need to be the fullest version of you because there also isn't another one. And if we're not the fullest versions of ourselves, then we don't get to create what I call a complete cultural revolution of the feminine experience.
Let's go.
Let's do it. And when you connect back into this, you realize you're not so small. So I went back to past lives in ancient Egypt. Okay, still part of this, you know, general timeline of humanity. Then I went back to Atlantis.
I want to talk about this.
Oh, then I went back to Sirius. Oh.
Can we go back to Sirius?
Oh, I'm in this body in this lifetime and I feel this big, but I am the exact same thing that our entire galaxies are made of, and so are you.
I'm following. I'm deeply following. So, okay, I want to go here. And then I want to come back to your business because I feel like people are going to like flock to this. So goddess codes, light codes, I talk about Pleiadian codes, like a point of your message and your teachings and your own journey and understanding is Atlantis. What is the Atlantis code? What is the Syrian code? I so get what you just said, and I want to triple click and unravel it for people.
Right. Well, it's this understanding of like being part of a greater consciousness.
Yep.
That is then incarnating in different civilizations in order to actually play a certain role. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was the lifetimes I got taken back to, it was always pretty catalytic roles. Mm-hmm. It was almost always priestess roles.
Told you.
And they were all there. And it's incredible because I always have felt a connection to these star systems, to these civilizations. I couldn't fully understand it. The first time I actually got to journey back to my lifetime in Atlantis was when I did plant medicine for the first time. Mm-hmm. And this beautiful jewel-encrusted squid master swam up to me and said, "Are you ready to remember one of the lifetimes, one of the many lifetimes that you've been of service in?" And it was just the most beautiful experience. And now, sure, when you're on plant medicine, you can imagine that you're believing all kinds of things.
Right.
Or you can actually come into this deep sense of you that just knows and just remembers.
Yes.
And whether it feels like an illusion or not, there's something in you that is so clear and so certain that even if you don't want to accept any of those other things, even if that's a stretch too far, the one thing you can't deny anymore is what that feeling is. Mm. And then you want to know, how do you feel that more? Mm. And then how do you start feeling that about things in your current life? Mm. And that's where all your codes are. That's what it is. Imagine, like, the simplest way I can explain soul codes to someone is, imagine a plant seed. I love apple trees, so I use the example of an apple tree seed, right? You have an apple tree seed, there's this tiny little seed, and it's got this amazing code in it. It knows how to grow into an apple tree. It doesn't spend its whole life wondering why it's not a pumpkin patch, as far as I know. It comes in, it gets planted, and then it sources everything from its environment to nourish itself, hopefully to turn into this beautiful apple tree. And it bears its fruit and it scatters its seeds so that you can end up with an orchard of apple trees. Every single one of us came here with a soul code that is coded with the highest destiny of our purpose of why we are here in this lifetime. It is not anything we're going to go learn in a book, in a course, or somewhere out there. It is something that when you come close enough to somebody who can stabilize your field, you access it. And once it unlocks, it gives you everything you need to know with absolute precision. And in those moments, you just can't even doubt what your destiny is anymore. You just start leveraging your environment like a beautiful seed to grow into everything you're meant to become and to benefit and to spread that and to share that. And it is such a beautiful, I love that example too, because I feel so deeply connected to Mother Earth, and the ascension of light has such an important connection between being fully embodied and grounded here in this environment of Earth, as well as being connected all the way up to the consciousness of the cosmos.
I'm just taking that in. No, really, I am. And I hope everyone listening is too.
So this is like, you know, I love being in midlife, by the way. Okay, the 40s were great. I don't know why we didn't skip to this like right from the start. I understand why. Like you can't actually fully enjoy your 40s if you haven't been through the rest.
I'm 44 and I'm super here for it. But I actually have heard my husband's in his 50s. I mean, it's different for men, but I know that this is a big part of what you do. It's something to really be embracing and looking forward to.
Well, so what happens in midlife, right? People say that you change, right? One of the things I hear so often is husbands will say, you know, my wife has lost her spark, or like, you know, it's really hard, right? And it comes from this beautiful, well-intentioned place. But I'm like, it's not that she's lost herself. It's that she's lost her ability to be the version of herself that she had to be because society told her so up until this point.
Right.
And so now she's tired, she's exhausted, she's burnt out, she's stressed out, and she just doesn't feel as good as she wants to.
Mm.
And nobody I know wants to wake up every day and feel like crap. They just don't. You want to wake up every day and feel great. Like who's here? I haven't heard a single person who says, no, Sadia, I don't want that. I'll pass. Everyone wants that. And nobody knows what it feels like because much like me, they likely have been resisting themselves their whole lives.
Right.
So what we call a midlife crisis is actually the most beautiful portal and awakening possible. And it can be medically minimized to perimenopause if people need to try and explain it.
Do you believe in the word perimenopause?
I mean, apparently I'm in it.
I mean, I also feel like it's a paradigm. I mean, it's happening, it's shifting, but I almost feel like women are surrendering some of their sovereignty away to a medical condition instead of what you're talking about, and giving it a name that is so much bigger than the name, so much more mystical than the name.
Right. My problem, or sort of the thing that unsettles me about perimenopause is not to deny any of the physiological changes. They are happening.
Exactly.
And they're intended to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a measure of longevity that it's happening, because I actually think it is my understanding and in my experience that men often just have their prime slightly earlier than women. A woman's prime is actually her 40s, 50s, and 60s, especially with longevity right now. So like many of us have just stepped into that threshold of being able to see how good it gets to be.
Amen.
So yes, there is things happening in our body, but there is something that is so much deeper than that happening. And when you seed it to perimenopause, my problem with that is that everyone has just decided it's going to be this decade plus of feeling absolutely miserable. And I just, no. Like, no. And I'm in it? No. Reject. Hard reject. I just prefer my way better. And it feels a lot better. So I think everyone else will like it a lot more too.
Let's talk about your way better, because I know that, and by the way, I just want to go back to the thing. I was just so moved by the seed. And we're going to circle this back to perimenopause and what you do in our journey, because I think of a friend gave me once an acorn seed.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like actually sitting by an acorn tree, and he was like, this right here had all of the intelligence to become
that mighty tree.
That's all inside of us. And it just is. It just is. And the freedom in that, the word freedom is, I think, the year of the horse and all of this new momentum that's coming in after the shedding of the year of the snake. And I really believe that this is our year specifically as women. It's the year that was designed for us to finally be so radically fully expressed as the one and only seed that we are.
Absolutely.
And there's this 3D paradigm, and it's kind of what I was saying about the perimenopause conversation. It's like women have been experiencing these changes and fluctuations and evolutions in our bodies forever. And now that we have Instagram, and now that we have New York Times best-selling books, and like, it just feels like it's everywhere, and it's really all prescriptive around like how to hormone balance and biohack your way through it.
And survive it. How do you survive it so you can keep performing in the masculine hustle that is designed, that women did not co-create?
Nope.
And therefore is not actually designed for our success. So to me, burnout really happens because you're trying to perform like a man
against your innate design
this whole time.
Yes.
And it is not the way we roll. You know this. We are cycles and seasons and so much more.
Yes.
And elements and earth and nature and flow. And when you spend so much time denying that, yes, your body is going to rage against you because your body's intelligence understands those cosmic flows already. Our bodies already shed and ovulate with the moon cycles. Our bodies already understand the shifting of the tides and the seasons. Our bodies are always guiding us, but we are trying so hard not to listen to her because we are trying to perform to impossible standards that were never intended for us. So struggling and surviving through perimenopause, which is the prime and peak of your life. When you look at the three archetypes of the maiden, the mother, and the crone, what I find so interesting is between the mother and the crone is actually where the prime of a woman is. It is the moment where you're not as preoccupied with raising kids and having a family. You might still be doing that. I'm still doing that. But you move into the sovereignty. For me, it was crossing the threshold of 40. I just didn't care as much anymore. I didn't want to perform anymore. I still fought myself for about 3 years trying to do it. But something in me was shifting. This is the midlife crisis everyone talks about. You're changing. You're not like your usual self. You're more edgy. You're more grumpy, right? All of these things are happening. Let's medically diagnose it and say it's perimenopause and figure out how to fix it. Because what happens when you surrender into it? When you understand mystically what's happening, it's so exciting. I'm like, I love being in perimenopause. And people are like, what? The moment when you come into this stage between the mother and the crone, and I prefer to use the sage than the crone, but you're in a spot where you move into your queenhood and you are still managing and you are still running, but you are doing it from this really sovereign, clear place. But you're also consolidating into the matriarch because the matriarch is the one who actually creates legacy for generations. We're not just trying to go from being a mother to being a sage. We're moving into being a queen and consolidating into a matriarch. So what really happens to us during this stage that we call perimenopause? Here's how I understand it. We have our chakra system that runs through our body, our energetic centers. When we are in what they call perimenopause, what I call the ascension of light, if you have truly accepted and awakened or are awakening to the truth of who you are, and you start to follow that sovereign feminine rhythm that is your birthright, that is your power, that is your majesty, then you start to sync yourself with your environment, with earth, with nature, with seasons, with cycles, with elements. This is how you anchor your root. She anchors deep, deep into Mother Earth, and you understand your environment like that little seed, because that little seed knows that if it tries to grow an apple in the winter, that apple's not going to grow.
Yes.
So what's that tree doing in the winter? It's not losing power, it's consolidating power. That seed understands seasons.
Yes.
When you understand your seasons and your cycles, you consolidate, you anchor your root. When you anchor your root into your environment, you are fully embodied. I spent my whole life disembodied.
Same.
Being embodied is wonderful.
Dude, it's the way.
I highly recommend it to everybody.
Yeah.
Give it a shot. Honestly, you are embodied. You're grounded. This is what we call being centered, being grounded.
Yes.
At the same time, when you start to awaken, you realize you're not this small in this body and this lifetime. You are this big or maybe even bigger.
Yes.
Right? And so your crown not only opens, but it anchors fully up into the cosmic intelligence that is available to all of us at any time, the highest level of consciousness. So now imagine you're being held perfect in perfect alignment. You're completely grounded and you're also completely connected. Your womb center, which is where our sacral chakra is, which is the energy center. It is where our wisdom, our intuition, our knowledge is. We call it a gut instinct for a reason. For women, it's deep womb wisdom. When you are in the ascension of light, you are in this extraordinary moment in life where the energy is moving up from your womb center and seeking to give expression through your third eye. Your third eye is your vision, your foresight, your prophecy. It is where you see and understand your destiny and get the most precise information from the consciousness of how it is you can actually move in that direction. Now, what sits between our third eye and our sacral? Our solar plexus
And our heart.
the expression of ourselves out into the world, our power center,
Yeah.
our heart, the way in which we connect not just to other people, but to ourselves, and our throat, how we express ourselves. So what's a midlife crisis to me? A midlife crisis is, you got a lot of opinions now, right? Or you don't want to do things the same way anymore, right? Or wait, you're not going to self-abandon yourself to please everyone else anymore? Or, you'll say those things and you don't care anymore. What's happening? Do you see what's activating in your energy centers? Oh, you got more vocal. You started speaking a truth. You hadn't spoken that truth before, so maybe it's a little uncomfortable. It takes a little getting used to. Your heart is no longer asking you to just be of service to your partnerships, your relationships, and your children. It's asking you to come home to herself. No more self-betraying, no more disembodying, no more abandoning. And your solar plexus is asking you to take that womb wisdom up and to roar, to be out in the world as the truest, boldest, most unapologetic version of yourself. This is the ascension of light. When you allow it and you let that Kundalini energy move up and down these centers, your ability to collapse time and get the most precise insight on how you can move forward and what you're moving forward towards is extraordinary. And you're not fighting your body anymore. You're honoring her because you're listening to her. You started to listen to the greatest compass that ever existed.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course.
All of these codes, were they activated? Has this always been within you underneath the 25 years of nonprofit hustling? Or did this come online in the last year since I met you inside of FFBS?
I mean, the clarity with which it's come online is definitely in the last 12 months, things have become obvious to me and downloaded in ways that I always sensed and I knew, but now I understand it precisely.
Right.
And I am so certain about it, and I'm going to probably be both popular and unpopular for it.
That's a good thing.
But I know it to be true. And when I felt it, the best way that I could understand it was allowing myself to experience it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so when my body started shifting after being like clockwork, I mean, I've been tracking, my cycles with the lunar calendar for over a decade, ever since I was trying to conceive my own children. And so for me, when the shift started happening, it wasn't so much that I was worried about my body or aging or not being reproductively useful to society or any of those things. I was like, oh, wait, where's my compass going? where my compass is starting to move direction.
Yeah.
And I need to recalibrate to her because I got so used to being so deeply embedded here. What happens now? So I can either freak out and go to a doctor and I did all those things, mind you. It's not like I didn't. I'm still human. I'm having a very human experience. I did all those things. What's happening after, it's never happened before. And, and then it came back. And I thought to myself, okay, I've heard people describe this as like a tunnel, a dark tunnel. I'm not going through another dark tunnel. I just came out of a tunnel. You're going to put me back through another tunnel? Like, I'm not going through the tunnel. I'm not going through that tunnel.
Right.
You don't have to.
Yeah.
You go through this tunnel.
This ascension.
This is ascension.
And
you feel it. And then you don't want to not feel it. Like you could not convince me. I don't even know if I'd know how to go back to the struggle, actually. I'm not sure I could. And the moment that you do abandon or self-betray, you feel it, but not as a punishment and not as harshness or judgment or critique. You feel it as this almost gentle, like, you don't want to do that.
What's so beautiful about this reframe? All of it. I was in Avalon last summer and we worked with this incredible woman. Her name is Debs and she's a womb shaman. And she's been working with the womb for like 25 years. She lives in a yurt in the woods. Like she's completely off grid. She's one with the elements and the earth. And she's become a mentor of mine. And it's right here on my wall, these images in the studio. It really introduced us all to this cycle of, because we've heard of the mother, the maiden, the mother, and the crone. Like that's a very common adage in, feminine story. And when we think about our cycle, our moon cycle, there are 4 phases, right? There's the follicular, the maiden, the spring. There's our ovulation, our mother, right? The summer. This is how she framed it. Then there's our luteal, which is like, I always make jokes with my friends. Like I hate my luteal phase because it's when I'm the bitchiest and the moodiest and the most like psychotic. And that phase is the queen. And then the crone is winter when we bleed. And she also introduced us to the whole female anatomy, like from the clitoris, which is the maiden, to the cervix, which is the mother. The portal opening into the womb is the queen. And inside of the womb is the crone. And there's all these different access points of this beautiful part of our physical system. And this is such a invitation, and you're such an example of it, of really embracing the cosmology of what it means to be a woman and this ascension path of light. It's so counterculture in the most incredibly magnetic way. And I really want to understand because, it's so funny that I called you a priestess, because when I look into your eyes to Sadia, like in this moment, I see the lineages of priestesses in your field and in your soul. It's really wild, actually. And you've brought this down into modern day form. I cannot tell you how blessed I feel you came into FFBS, that, it's a big program. It's a big experience. And I love that you call that. It was just that one particular moment of reflection that has led you to now be able to help so many other women that you were always destined to do. This was your legacy. You mentioned that word at the beginning, and I see the dots connecting. How do you help women today? I want to go into your work. What is the way that people can work with you now? How have you brought this into your offers and your services and the way women can engage with you?
Sure. So I, have a very strong feeling that women, especially in midlife, are going to be the ones that I can really help to hold a field for the most.
Target avatar, your ICP.
Doesn't mean that I can't be supportive of others, but I understand now, and I spent all those months in FFB and who's my ideal client? How do I find them? And now I realize it and I understand it. And I understand it because it really is this moment of choosing to cross a threshold and choosing to actually have a sovereign experience of what the stage of feminine life really looks like. A stage of feminine life that we're only now starting to name with the queen and the matriarch. I mean, we're creating this language. It's a language of light. It hasn't existed before. And when you step into it and you understand it, then it unlocks the keys to your entire kingdom, your entire queendom. Queendom. I stand corrected. I really base it on my own experience of transformation. See, when I hit burnout, and even when I came into FFBS, there was still this recognition in me that all of the searching I was doing outside of me was still keeping me looping and looping and looping in resistance. And there is this moment where I just pulled it all back into me. And it felt like everything in life then was falling apart. I was at war with my body. My relationship was failing. My business wasn't doing what I wanted it to. Like everything looked fine and nothing felt fine. And in that moment, when I turned inward, when I reflect back on that now, I can see the process I was guided through. And it's something that I call the Trinity of self, because the way in which we awaken is actually by journeying back home to the truth of who we are. And that means that we stop abandoning and betraying and shaming ourselves. And there's no judgment. It's not our fault. We're doing exactly what our lineage programmed us to do, which was to show up, to survive, to succeed, to keep going. But we're at this moment of choice. So the first gateway you can go through is called devotion to self.
Okay.
And I don't call it self-love. I call it devotion to self, because when you think of devotion, you think of something really deep, something enduring, something everlasting, eternal, and timeless. And usually people will only use that term if they're talking about their faith or maybe their family, maybe their purpose. I want women to start using that term when they think of themselves. What does it actually mean to be in the deepest devotion to yourself? What will you give yourself permission to do? So often that irritability, that temper, that mood, whatever that might be that we're feeling, that we're trying to always explain away, is the fact that we didn't meet our own needs.
Absolutely.
I have spent years coaching women to just schedule themselves into their own days and weeks. I'm like, where are you in this fancy plan of yours? You're not even there. So if we've been invisible to ourselves our whole life, then life feels like we're invisible. Like we don't matter. You come back into this deep sense of devotion to yourself. The second gateway is reintegration. Now, a lot of people I know do shadow work. The thing with shadow work is that you can get guided down into the shadows, then no one shows you the way back up. It's like going scuba diving and not knowing how to ascend back up again.
Scary.
Yeah. And most people don't want to do it because they imagine that they're going to have to go back and relive trauma or pain or humiliation or shame or suffering or guilt or whatever it might be. And none of that is true. Reintegration is actually this really beautiful moment where you just recognize the parts of you that are asking, especially through your solar plexus, through your heart, through your throat, to be seen and expressed out into the world. That's probably the part of you that was told to dim down, to quiet down, to shrink down. And you invite them back. You don't have to choose to live from any of those parts of yourself, but you can no longer disown them. You bring them home and you realize and understand that there is a deep wisdom that they have, but the sovereign queen gets to choose how she uses that wisdom and when. And so it's like welcoming all your flock of sheep back home.
Yeah.
But you're the shepherdess now.
Yeah.
You know how to guide them, but you're not going to disown them. You're not going to fragment yourself and chop yourself up into these little boxes to fit into these little silos that someone else designed for us. So you reintegrate. When you do that, you can actually reflect without an emotional charge on the things that you were shamed for, that you were made guilty for. And you start to ask yourself, like that little seed, how do I leverage that in my environment to actually get to that huge vision I have? We can only dream dreams because they already exist for us in a timeline.
Amen. I love that. So true.
And
it's
we
so good.
just need to become the version of ourselves that's actually able to hold the frequency of it. And we can't do it if we've chopped ourselves up into all these little pieces and scattered it around because we're scared not to be loved, not to belong, not to be worthy. But when you understand devotion, you realize you are always loved. You always belong. You've always been worthy.
So you have gate 1, devotion, gate 2, integration.
Gate 3 is sovereignty, which is the becoming. That is the living of it. And there's 3 keys we go through. So the first is around releasing. It's shedding, and it's very fast. So it's quantum energetics. It's a process where you are literally releasing from your cellular body and starting to diffuse that fog that I call our carbon-based DNA, because underneath it is our crystalline DNA.
Yes.
And that's where all our codes are.
I talk about this all the time.
And our body will remember them if we allow her to wake up and remember it.
Yes.
And so the releasing process is, once you give yourself permission, your body already knows. She will tell you exactly where it's stored. And if we cannot attach a story to whatever it is that is coming up to be released, but just love it and allow it to go, it will leave quickly. The second part, the second key is around recoding. When you create a vacuum, it needs to be filled. If you don't fill it intentionally, then we will just fill it with whatever we previously knew. So you recode it, you call in what it is you most want. And in my spaces, women tend to say, wow, I've never said that out loud before. Great. This is the time you say it out loud. This is the place you say it out loud. No one is going to say that's too big, that's too crazy, that's too impossible, that can't be done. We're not here to judge that. If you believe that to be true, there's only one of you. That means my responsibility is to hold a field so you undoubtedly get to whatever it is you believe you can be. Because there won't be another.
So that's the second key. What's the third?
The third one is around reclaiming. So that's when you live into it. That's how you move into sovereignty. And sovereignty is then a way of being. It's a state of existence. And you reclaim it slowly. So part of the reason why people fall back into loops and you think, I've done all of it. I did this so many times. I've done it all. I've been it all. I've, studied it all. I showed up. I was an A-star student. Why didn't my life change? Well, because my body's never experienced that new version. And when I was very young, like everybody else, we got conditioned to survive. And it was a very practical conditioning at the time because we were in fact infants and we could not survive on our own. So we learned habits and behaviors that got our needs met, that kept us alive. When we came of age, no one came and tapped us on the shoulder and said, guess what? You can now install a whole new program because you're an adult and you can take different risks. And you can do things that maybe as a young child were not safe, but you could do them as an adult and you can try those things. So it just so happens, for example, that if one of my survival patterns is always being broke, being successful, but somehow also being broke, I didn't die from it yet. So I'll just keep looping it. Right. Have I been successful and independently wealthy yet? My body's like, I don't know about that, Sadia. Are you sure? Let's just come back here. Now, it's just trying to protect you. It's well-intentioned. One of the most beautiful things when you're releasing and you're recoding is you can talk to these programs in your body and you can say, you know what? I see you and thank you. But we can do something differently now. And I'm going to show you that it's safe to do it. And so the reclaiming, the integrating, the becoming sovereign is the actions you take every single day that start to rewire your nervous system and teach your body that you are safe to move towards this thing that you so desire. And every day that you do that, little things, they sound simple, but they change your life really rapidly. You start doing them every day, and then your body goes, whoa, this feels good. This feels better than that did. We didn't die. Okay, let's do a little more. Let's do a little more. And then you can get into quantum acceleration. This is how you prepare your nervous system and you're grounded. You're devoted to yourself now. You brought all your pieces back home. You're not hustling and being masculine. You've surrendered to the seasons and the cycles and the elements. You can now compound and accelerate, and you can do it so fast.
Quantum.
It blows your mind. I mean, it took me 43 years to get to that level of burnout, and it took me about 4 or 5 months to completely come out of it.
So I want to go back to that voice note that I left you. because I don't know if you know this. I get the download from Sarah and Alexa, you know, to talk to everybody. I talk to a lot of women too who are interested in FFBS, but I watch the videos too. Like I'm Big Brother. Like we all record our calls and I'm like, I want to know who she is. Like I'm going to go deep. So I saw you before I even saw you.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean, because we don't operate like a traditional, we don't hire a sales team of closers. Like you're coming into our world and I'm holding this container from my soul for 3 months. And I want to know the women that have raised their hand and are interested in, it's a devotion. It's a relationship. It's a commitment. I'm sitting here a year later and change. And I'm kind of having this meta moment because that woman that I saw was her own apple seed. And you had created worlds upon worlds within the environment that wasn't allowing you to thrive. And you have just cracked the fuck open in a way that I'm sitting here. I'm like, she's my sister first. She was my student. But now she's my teacher. It's really amazing.
Thank you. I can't even tell you where it came from. But the beautiful thing,
serious,
when you stop denying yourself, is that honestly, each and every one of us is so magnificent.
Yes, I'd agree.
Like there's no words in the English language to actually describe it. So magnificent. And when you finally allow it and you start to feel it, it's the most breathtaking experience in the whole world.
It's what we came here for.
Absolutely. And it's so many people feel fear of this idea of the sovereign feminine, which is what my program is called. Because they have the sense that somehow it's going to unravel or deteriorate everything that we hold dear. But the truth is that relationship that felt so broken came back in a more beautiful way. My kids and I are at a whole different level. There is a truth here that when we restore the sovereign feminine experience, that what we bring back to the world, to our families, to our societies, is something that creates a balance that everyone is craving and longing for, but just can't name.
Yes.
Because it has been erased for so long that nobody remembers it existed at all. But they long for it, even when they are conditioned to deny it.
Yeah. That was the biggest unlock that I had in Egypt when I went to that country, got my DNA activated, carbon-based, melted, crystalline came online. And it was the message I received in Hathor's temple that honestly inspired the whole light workbook, that inspired this world that I've created with the Feminine Frequency Business School. She said, the feminine frequency is returning. And it is your job to be a leader of this moment in humanity, Jessica. But, and there was a very big but, ellipsis, ... not just you. You're just only one woman on this planet. It's all women's role to be a part of this reclamation of the feminine at this time. And the word was not arriving, it was returning. And I have spent the last however many years unpacking that word because everything you say is so true around the erasure. So thank you for being the remembrance and for doing the work that you do, Sadia. I could talk to you for hours and I luckily get to. I just want to ask you a few final quick fire questions.
Sure.
This is what I ask everybody. So I already know the answers to some of these questions, but we'll ask them anyway. So what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite business book and a favorite spiritual book?
That's a good question. Well, now I have to think. I would have given you such a different answer a while ago. I might have to find my new business book.
I love that answer.
You know why? Because I realized that all of the ones that I've read and that I like earmarked and underlined for so long were still all written from such a masculine framework.
You might like my third book.
I'm sure I will. I have no doubt that I will.
It's a business book.
I have no doubt that I will. I will say, the light work brought me to you.
Mm-hmm.
The other book that opened me up, that was recommended it's in your reading list, but also another sister in FFBS recommended to me, was the Sophia Code.
Oh, it's so good.
The Sophia Code read back to me everything I already knew and had been channeling, and it just made it so. There was no longer a denial of it anymore because it was written right there. And as I went through every single goddess activation, the ability to then release and accelerate was so profound. That was a really beautiful book.
Kyra, so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's amazing.
She is. And I have my first book coming out soon.
I know you do. Do you want to talk about it?
Sure. It's called You Are the One. And it is a transmission that I am intending to reach women who, like me, have that feeling, but they're not sure what it is that they're feeling. And when they read through it, what it does is it begins the process of allowing them to start to shed all of that generational trauma and to really allow themselves to see and feel themselves. And it gives them access to the first two gateways of devotion and reintegration before they even come into any kind of personal contact with me, because I can't keep that. That needs to be something that is returned back to all of the feminine everywhere.
I understand. It's not out yet, right?
It's not. It's coming out in early February.
Okay. Well, this might drop in early February, so we can link to it in the show notes. All right. Do you believe in aliens? Yes or no?
Yes.
I knew you were right. I am one from Sirius. You feel connected to the Sirius constellation.
I always have, and I never understood why.
Yeah.
And then I learned that I'm a rising Leo sign, which helped explain. When I actually understood all my three signs,
it made my whole life make sense too. It all came together.
My sun sign is Aquarius, my rising is Leo, and my moon is Scorpio. And I understood everything about myself once I actually understood my birth chart.
I could not agree more.
Always been connected to the Lion's Gate and the Sirius portal, and I had never understood why. Well, now I understand why. I mean, it is where I am from.
Yes.
And every time now the portal opens, I understand that there is a transmission and a download that can be accessed that is here to be in service of humanity.
I love it. Final question for you. What does it mean to you, Sadia, to be a co-creator of the New Earth Rising?
It means giving women the opportunity to actually choose, that they get to rewrite this experience from a place of deep joy, love, and devotion. And that everything that they dream of and want is already inside them. And there is not a single woman on this planet who should have to breathe another breath or go another day without being able to feel the truth of who she is. What she wants to do with that truth is her sovereign choice. But the opportunity to feel that truth is something that I look forward to spending the rest of my life making available to as many people as I can.
Amen. One last proclamation of gratitude to you and to honestly Hathor, who opened up this gate and said, all women. And not all women answer the call. I too hope that I get to spend the rest of my life helping as many people as possible. But thank you from the bottom of my heart for seeing me and for linking arms with me and for co-creating this with me, because we're here for the same reason. We have the same mission. We do it in different ways and we have different gifts and modalities, but we're here for the same reason. And it's for the light.
The light.
So I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here and for doing everything that you do. And it is truly my pleasure to be able to sit here with you and to be part of this.
We are, what is that expression? We ride at dawn.
And it's going to be fun.
I know.
I'm all here for the fun too. No more suffering. We're done with that.
We're done with that.
We're done with that. Fun, 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 fun.
I love you. Thank you.
I love you too.